James, let's kick it off with you and actually look at what a possible, trade truce or even trade deal means for global stock markets. Who will benefit the most?
Yeah, morning, Francine. It's a good question. Certainly, we've seen Chinese equities on a bit of a ripping tear over the last sort of few weeks, and I think there's probably a decent amount of optimism already baked into those. Essentially, my kind of economic view here is that trade has not been the problem. The other things that you were just talking about there with respect to what we might expect from the National People's Congress, I think are far more relevant for setting the tone for growth outside of the US than trade is. So for me, this is a bit of a sentiment boost. This is taking away some potential downside risks. I think it does have structural influences over the very, very long term. I don't think equity markets are prepared to look that far into the future. So I expect to see a bounce, but I don't think this is something where we're going to see a 10 or 15% global equity rally off the back of it.
Mary, what kind of implication do you see for the Chinese economy? How weak is the Chinese economy right now away from trade?
Well, I think actually the Chinese economy is showing signs of great resilience, as is the US economy. So perhaps we're amongst those, versus consensus who are somewhat less concerned. But having said that, the whole trade issue is, of course, the issue that's the most important for the strength of the global business cycle going forward. And simply talking about protectionism already had an impact in the first quarter of 2018 on trade volumes. And for instance, IATA, the air regulator, showed numbers, month-on-month numbers for air freight that were down by almost 2% in December. And for the year as a whole, air freight trade volumes grew by 3.5%, which was a sharp drop from the 9.7% growth recorded in 2017. So as long as trade volumes remain positive, we think that a recession can be avoided, but there's no greater threat to the global business cycle than trade in spite of this potentially positive news.